Welcome to the Rewilded Human podcast, where Dr. Lucille and Lynn will tackle your most difficult and intimate questions with candor, tough love, and a little dash of humor. In today's episode,
what's the best way to handle a roommate who never does the dishes?
How do I tell my friend that her cooking isn't as good as they think it is? How do I subtly hint that someone needs a breath mint?
What's the most polite way to avoid someone I don't like?
What should I do if my friend's husband keeps flirting with me?
How do I tell my partner I'm not a fan of her new hairstyle?
How do I tell my friend that her cooking isn't as good as they think it is?
How do I politely ask someone to stop giving me unsolicited health advice?
How do I deal with a boss who sends emails at all hours of the night? And how do I handle it when someone comments on my weight?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Rewilded Human podcast, where I, Dr. Lucille Neckes, holistic psychiatrist, psychotherapist, and my podcast partner here, Dr. Lynn Hardy, who's a naturopath and a clinical nutritionist, we help you unpack your life's challenges and help you lead a more fulfilled life. So today we have one of our favorite things to do, which is rapid fire questions. So we're just going to be going through them and knocking them out and making sure that you all are on the straight and narrow if any one of you have any of these problems. Okay?
Yeah, guys, these will be just really short questions that you guys have sent us, and we're just going to get to the point very quickly because they're not like very complex questions that need a lot of our attention. So we're going to try to answer these as many as possible and as quickly as possible. So that's the point of today. So hopefully you will enjoy them. We're going to jump into the first question. Number one, how do I tell my neighbor to stop borrowing my stuff without sounding rude? Well, I think you just tell him.
Yeah, you just tell him. And if he thinks it's rude, he or she, then so be it. They're an adult. They take care of their own feelings.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you don't want to lend your stuff, especially if it comes back damaged or if it never comes back, I think that could be a big issue with neighbors and stuff like that. It's just better to be upfront. I think people appreciate honesty a lot more than, beating around the bush and playing games and everything. Like you said, Lucille, they're adults. Just say, I don't feel comfortable. Sorry, go get your own sugar or whatever, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Number two, what's the best way to handle a roommate who never does the dishes? What do you think, Lynn?
Well, again, honesty,
Absolutely.
Yeah, or do a schedule, maybe put up a schedule on the fridge, and Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I do the dishes, the other days you do the dishes, or something like that. I mean, you need to have very clear boundaries with roommates, or maybe everybody does their own dishes, but you have to be very strict. I find it so difficult that so many people live together who are not compatible at all, and they have completely different ideas on, cleanliness and rules about bringing people over and stuff like that. I don't understand why people don't agree on these things beforehand, before moving in with
But you know what happens? Sometimes they seem to agree beforehand, but then you find out the person really didn't agree.
Yeah.
That's something in order to, get room and board, so.
Yeah, that's possible too. But I think you need to be persistent and just, set boundaries and stick to them.
Right.
Number three, how do I subtly hint that someone needs a breath mint? Do you have to do that?
I don't get too close.
I'm actually the same. I don't like being that close to someone where I can smell their breath. But I mean, we all have issues with our breath once in a while. Does it need to be pointed out every time by someone else? And I don't know how close you are to that person. Maybe.
Yeah, if it's somebody you're really intimate with and they have constant bad breath, like your spouse or something like that, or your dog, I don't know.
Your dog, yeah. Stella, we gotta talk.
Yeah, then it's not even just a matter of it's personally uncomfortable for you, but that may be an indicator of some kind of health issue.
Yeah, for sure.
For the other person. And you may want to put it in the frame of, I've noticed this, and I think you're a great person. I don't have a problem with anything else about you, but I'm a little bit concerned that you have bad breath, and it may be a sign that there's something not right with, I don't know, your dental health, physical health. Have you ever considered that? I wouldn't suggest a breath mint right off the bat because I don't know if that's going to solve the problem. I have no idea.
I'm always so surprised. Like, do people not realize when they have bad breath? Like,
yeah, it's true. They don't because they're living with it all the time, and whatever they're breathing in, whatever they're noticing, it's not. They may be doing it so much that they're not aware. It may be happening so much that they're just not aware.
I just have this crazy sense of smell. Like, I can smell things from a mile away. So I'm super, self-conscious about things like this. I've got gums and mints and everything all the time. But if someone would say that to me, like, I would be horrified. I would be like, so, oh my God, like. So I think you really need to be careful who you're saying it to. Like, you really need to have a good friendship or a strong relationship with someone, because if it's not someone, if it's just someone at work, well, don't get close to them.
But if it's somebody you're not having a close relationship with, I understand if you're extremely sensitive to smell, but most of the time we're not that close.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah. Okay, next one, Lucille.
Number 4, what's the most polite way to avoid someone I don't like?
Is there a polite way to do it?
Polite. That's interesting. Everybody's got a different definition of polite, so I don't know what that would be. But, it's like if you have a really nosy, gossipy, unpleasant neighbor, and they're constantly watching to see if you're going to come out of your house so they can waylay you and tell you the latest, juiciest gossip, I would use another exit out of my house. I mean, I would just physically avoid them.
Just dig a tunnel in the garden and come out on the other street. I mean, it's simple.
It is simple. But the other thing that I've had to do with people is, with their neighbor or whoever, and they're burdening me with all their negative stuff, and I just don't want to keep hearing it. I will say, I'm very sorry, but I have something I really have to do. And and it's true, because we all have something better to do than to listen to somebody, dump all their negativity on us, right? Sure. There's always something better to do. For sure. So I just cut it short and move on.
Lucille, do you get a lot of people that come to you for like free advice, knowing that you're a psychiatrist, and then they come to you and they want to tell you their problems?
No. What happens is, as I get to know people more and more, people just naturally talk about their problems. So their mother's dementing, or but they're not. It's not like they're burdening with you.
They're not looking for a solution.
They're not looking. They've got their own solutions. It's just that they have a heavy heart, and it helps sometimes to share that with others. But I usually don't feel that anybody's imposing on me. The rare times that it does happen, I put a limit on it for sure.
Yeah. Because I get that a lot. I'll get that from even people that I haven't spoken to in 10 years. And now they have a question about their cholesterol, and I'm the first person they think of, So I get this. That's why I was wondering if you go through the same thing. But yeah, it can be frustrating. Okay, the next question.
It makes sense that I'm not as nice and empathic as you are.
No, but it's good. Yeah, you set boundaries. You have stronger boundaries. I think that's great, because I'm the one that I'll send them all this information and everything, and then I don't even get a thank you afterwards. And that's very typical. I'll spend like half a day sending them information, videos, books, everything, and then nothing, not even a thank you. That's just very typical in my life. So boundaries. Number 5, how do I stop myself from oversharing on social media after a couple of drinks? Stop drinking. Stop drinking. Jesus. I mean, that's an easy one.
It is. And I don't know if you've run into it, Lynn, haven't you, where you get something in your post and it's somebody who even admits that they're drunk when they wrote the post.
I know.
Why would they keep it up? You can delete it. I mean, oh my goodness, like, why burden other people with it?
I know. I think before you go out drinking, change your password. Don't write it down.
Right.
And then just stay off social media and then stop drinking. It's a no-brainer.
Very, very simple. Number 6. How do I tell my partner I'm not a fan of her new hairstyle? Well, okay. How would you like your husband, Lynn, to tell you that?
I would not like for him to tell me that at all. I mean, it's happened a couple of times. He has said that, and it really hurt my feelings. even if I don't like it, I still want him to like it. You know, you don't want to hear. It's like your, you know, your partner telling you you're fat or whatever. Like, I don't think you need to. I mean, hair grows out, and I don't know. What do you think, Lucille? Do you think they should tell you?
You know what? I think that you need to pick your battles in any
Mm,
relationship. And, you know, if you don't like the hairstyle, most people can live with it. You can
yeah,
tolerate it. And
yeah,
especially if your partner tends to change their hair quite a bit, who cares? Like as Lynn
exactly.
said, it
Yeah.
grows out. Um,
I mean, you don't have to say you
if
love
they
it.
ask,
Don't say you love it. And
no, but if your partner asks you directly, like, what do you think of my hair? Then you have to be very diplomatic, I
but
think.
you could say, I really adored your hairstyle before. I think it looked nice. So you can
Yeah.
say something like
Or
that.
you can say you've got such a beautiful face. I don't think that particular cut really shows off your beautiful face as much as it could,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, that
know,
makes sense. Or, you know,
right?
I like the longer hair because it covered your neck hump or whatever, you know, let it grow out again. Oh, I had to go there, didn't I? All right, number 7. What should I do if my friend's husband keeps flirting with me? I've
Ah,
had this happen, and this is very uncomfortable. Very, very uncomfortable. And right in front of the wife, you know?
oh, that's so disgusting and so disrespectful.
Very
So
disrespectful.
disrespectful.
I mean, the only thing you can do, and that's what I just kind of distanced myself from them. I didn't invite them over after. I didn't want them there. I didn't want them at my house. I didn't want to socialize with them. It just makes you feel super uncomfortable. I don't know if your friend is aware of it. If she's not, I don't know. Would you tell the friend? Because then the friend will say, oh, you're provoking him or something. The friend will usually take the husband's side, right?
Yeah, it depends on what's happening in their relationship. You can always state your truth. You can always
Yeah.
say, "Look, it's very uncomfortable for me, and I like you very much. I'd like to maybe maintain a friendship with you, but I'm very uncomfortable with having your husband over for social occasions." And you can be very honest, and then you will find out what is really going on
Mhm.
between your friend and her husband. And then you will find out whether or not she can tolerate awareness,
Mhm.
somebody else telling her how this is impacting on them. But you would not believe the totally unhealthy relationship dynamics that you find in marriages. And it's so interesting because I'll tell you a very quick story. One of my neighbors, whom I often stop to chat with when she's in her yard, she mentioned that one of the neighbors living closer to me, he and his wife had divorced recently. I knew nothing about it, but anyway, he did. And after the divorce, he started coming over, and every time she was in her garden, he would start talking to her in a way that was like coming on to her and impressing her with all his riches and all his fame and his status and blah, blah, blah. Even when her husband was sitting on the porch hearing it, he could hear everything. And once this neighbor said to my female neighbor friend,
Yeah.
he said to her, "Oh, you're so hot," right in front of her husband. And she has, pardon the expression, she has the balls in her marriage. Her
Yes.
husband is kind of a people pleaser,
Yeah.
and she let this guy have it. And she turned on him. She cut him out. She would not speak to him again.
Good for
And
her.
she told him off. And her husband's response was, "Did I hear him correctly? Did he call you hot?" She was kind of like tearing her, "Yes, you know English better than I do.
Oh,
Yes."
that's so funny.
And he was pretending that she should kind of just be nice to the
Hmm.
neighbor. And
Yeah.
she said, "Hey, the guy said, you know what? And I will never tolerate that behavior." And I was with her on that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
The reason these guys get away with it is because nobody has the balls to tell them off,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Yeah. My husband would have been the same. He would have been like, yeah, yeah, she's hot. So, you know, like he would not get offended at all. All right. Next question, Lucia.
Number 8, how do I handle it when my date talks about her ex too much.
It's pretty awkward, eh? Okay, it's been time for this.
Oh, red flag, red flag. Good. I love the red flag. We don't use it enough.
Well, that obviously means that they're not over the ex, right? When they're talking about the ex too much.
Exactly right. Yeah. And you don't want to feel like you're in a threesome. So you know what I would suggest? I would just suggest very gently and kindly saying to her, I think that you still have issues and you probably need to work on them before you start dating. You can tell them quite honestly that you just feel like you're not in the relationship with her when she's constantly talking about the ex.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I mean, there
aware.
comes a point in a relationship, which happened with my husband and myself as well, when we first met. I mean, it wasn't on the first date, but you know, eventually we did have that talk where he talked about his ex or exes, and I talked about my ex, and we kind of got that out of our system. And then it wasn't anything that we ever really spoke about again. You know, we told our stories, which I think is important to get out there, because you kind of learn the history of the person by learning about these things, but then you kind of let it go. I mean, you don't spend the rest of your marriage or your relationship talking about the ex. But I mean, if it's like a first date or early in the relationship, I think that's a huge red flag.
Absolutely. And especially if they can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. You need to bring that person back into the present and talk about, you know, you guys, your relationship or your blossoming relationship. All right, number 9. How do I tell my friend that her cooking isn't as good as they think it is? Well, do you have to tell them? That's kind of insulting, no?
Well, I guess, you know, again, you pick your battles. Is it that maybe you're really irritated because the friend keeps bragging about how great a cook she is, and that she's, everybody thinks that her beef bourguignon is just the best they've ever tasted. And she's constantly going on and on and on about it. And you're just annoyed. Maybe you can stomach the food. It's just, it's not your cup of tea, but you can stomach the food. Then, one of the best ways to deal with it is actually just to ignore all the bragging and change the subject.
But on the other hand, if your friend is constantly cooking for you and being kind to you and bringing her special food for you and stuff like that, or inviting you over and cooking for you without actually saying anything, then it would be very unkind to criticize the food.
Well, yes and no, but it depends on if the cooking is really irritating, like maybe you get gas.
Stop making beans.
Yes, maybe you get indigestion. Maybe it's, they don't cook with ingredients that are tolerable to your digestive system.
But then you can mention that. Then you can say that, you
can just say, you know what, I need to be gluten-free. It really disturbs my stomach when I'm not gluten-free. So you can say that. But, if there's somebody who is going on and on about what a fantastic chef they are, and you've had it with that, then don't praise them, don't reward them for that, just ignore it and change the subject.
But I'm a fantastic chef, and if somebody didn't like my food, I would be really offended. I'm being honest.
I'm glad to know that before I come to visit.
It's true, Lucille. When you come and visit, you better like my food. No, because I love cooking, and I cook with a passion, and I think I'm a very good cook, and that's why, like, I often don't like other people's cooking, because I'm really good at cooking and I like the food the way I make it. Especially like I cook a lot of Hungarian dishes, and I like it exactly how I make it. My husband also likes it how I make it or how he makes it. But then when somebody else makes that same dish, it'll be a little bit different, and we might not like it as much. But then I don't tell them that, oh, mine is so much better, or I like the way I do it.
You're not narcissistic. I know that.
No. Then you just kind of graciously accept the food, say thank you very much, it was delicious, and hope they never make it for you again. Oh, I'm terrible.
Well, now I know it.
Now you know. We'll go out to eat when you come, Lucille. I won't put that pressure on you that you have to praise my food.
No, I'm sure it's going to be ultra delicious. I have no doubt.
It will be. I promise you.
Number 10. What's the best way to tell someone, no, I'm just not that into them?
Let someone
know. Okay, which is similar to what we talked about in the previous episode. Okay. Well, you know what? As we said in the previous episode, the best way is to be honest as soon as possible. Don't string people along and just say, mention their good qualities, but tell them that you just don't feel that the two of you are compatible.
Yeah.
And it's best to just move on.
Yeah, honesty is always the best policy.
It is.
There's no other way around it. Rip off the Band-Aid, like we said in the previous episode. Just tell them. Number 11, how do I deal with a boss who sends emails at all hours of the night? Well, I don't think you need to be checking your email during the night, right?
No, and I've had clients who have this issue, and what's the best way to deal with it is you very politely ask your boss, I notice that you're sending emails at 2 or 3 in the morning. Is it part of my job description to reply to the emails as soon as you send them? Just ask, just clarification.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to wait until I wake up in the morning?
Yeah. But I mean, maybe that's obvious, because I mean, I send emails and even messages in the middle of the night if I'm up and stuff, because I think of something, but I don't expect a person to respond right away.
Yeah, but you might want to clarify it if it's a boss, because sometimes they can have very unreasonable expectations of their employee. So you just want to make it clear, that you're not going to be responding at 2 in the morning, and know that they're okay with it. Hopefully they are okay with it. Yeah, just to be on the safe side, I think.
Yeah, good idea. Check with your boss.
Number 12, what's the best excuse to leave a work meeting early?
Diarrhea.
Well, it's complicated, because you need to know your company culture, or at least the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
You can get stuck in meetings that really are irrelevant to what you need to do with your part of the job. And it's just a complete waste of time. If this has happened, say, more than once, and you know that there's no point in staying for the entire meeting, then you can say right up front, I'm sorry, but I have a deadline, and I have to get back to my project by a certain time. So no offense, but I'm probably going to be leaving early. And hopefully you have the kind of culture where people are going to be okay with that, especially if you emphasize that this is a work obligation that you're going back to.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the best thing with a work meeting, is always to emphasize that you have a higher priority of work.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that. Perfect response. Number 13, how do I tell my coworker they have something in their teeth? Just tell them.
Just tell them, yeah. I don't think it's going to crush a person's ego completely.
No, I don't think so. Just go kind of like, got a little parsley there. No, I think just tell them. I don't think anybody will get offended by that. I would want to know if I'm walking around, especially if you're in a meeting, and you've got this giant chive sitting in between your teeth. I would want to know. So I think just tell them.
Sure, I agree. Number 14, what's the best way to politely decline a colleague's invitation for drinks?
I think it's what you do like with your neighbors and everything, right? Just to say, to be honest, and say you have other obligations, or you don't have time, or you can also say that you just don't socialize with people that you work with.
Yeah, and some people do make that a policy, which I think is perfectly okay. And also drinks. I mean, there are lots of people who don't drink, alcohol.
We don't drink. Lucille and I don't drink.
We don't drink. If the person is persistent, okay, you've given them the polite no, and they're persistent, then one thing you might want to ask is, well, if you wouldn't mind explaining, why is this so important that I go out with you for drinks? Like, put it on them to explain.
I like that.
You shouldn't be put in under pressure to go to anybody's social event, or engage with anybody outside of work. You shouldn't be put under any pressure. So make them account for it if they keep pressuring you to do that.
15, how do I ask for a day off without feeling guilty?
Well, your guilt is your issue.
Yeah,
If you've done it before and your boss has no problem with it,
yeah,
great. If you need a day off, and a lot of people are talking about this because work has become more brutal over the years. Work in
yeah,
the corporate world
yeah,
or in any kind of work situation, really, if you're working for a boss or a company, people are talking more and more about if you don't take a mental health day off, you're going to really regret it because you maybe have to put yourself on disability later. So in your own mind, you can justify it by saying, I need this time off. Otherwise, I think I'm going to burn out. Maybe you already have a condition that is making it hard for you to be at work every single day.
yeah,
Um, I think that you need mental health days.
yeah.
You definitely do.
I think in
Um,
Europe, people don't have a problem asking for days off. I think we have a very different mentality here than from North America, where
yeah.
you guys get like 1 week off a year. Here it's like everyone's like August, everything shuts down. All of Europe
Yeah.
shuts down and everyone's on vacation. Every company shuts down everything. In August, you get nothing done. So here people, have a lot more leisure time. And I think even the corporate world is not as strict as it is in North America. So yeah, I mean, just take your day off. If that's, that's
Yeah,
what you need. Don't feel bad. Obviously you need it. And then if you need it, then get rid of the guilt.
absolutely. Number 16, how do I politely ask someone to stop giving me unsolicited health advice?
That's a hard one. I'm kind of guilty of that. I do that quite a bit.
I must admit, I have been guilty of that too. Um, and there was one time when I belonged to a club and another member suddenly was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And she went through such a hard time with the treatment. And she had people coming at her all the time, telling her, go to this naturopath, do this natural remedy. No, you should do that kind of treatment. You should take the experimental drug. Oh,
Yeah, I
and
know.
the
It's
poor
crazy.
woman, and she was, telling me that it was so hard on her because it's just hard for her to get through a day, make the decisions she needed to make without everybody coming at her with their own personal ideas of what
I
she
know.
should. And I supported her and I said, you're absolutely right. You do not need to be overwhelmed by everybody else's opinion of what you
Yeah.
should do. And in that situation, just should feel very entitled to saying, listen, it's hard enough for me to deal with this problem, whatever it is. And it makes it even harder because I have a lot of people telling me what I should do. And so I know that you're trying to help, but you may not be aware that it's actually not that helpful.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind, I would just like to get on with my healing on my own.
Yeah,
Something
that's a
to that
perfect
effect.
response. I've had people say to me, look, I trust my doctor completely, and that's what I'm going to follow his advice 100%. And then I'm like, okay, good for you. Fantastic. Wish you all the best. If you need me, I'm here. But you also have to be, as the person that is giving the advice, you have to kind of read the room, right? You're picking up the expressions of the person. Like I can always feel right away that they want this advice, they want to hear it, or that they're closed off completely. And when they're closed off, I just step back and I just shut up and I just stop because there's no point. You should not be forcing your views on anyone.
Absolutely agree with that. I think that's really important to read the room. But even if you're reading that they are open or they want advice, I would still make them give consent. Like I would say,
Yeah,
listen, would you like a little feedback or some advice? And
absolutely.
then they can say yes or no, and that's fine. But
Absolutely.
at least we're clear, that
Absolutely.
they asked or didn't, right?
Absolutely. 100%. Totally
Yeah.
agree. Number 17, what's the best way to hide the fact that I'm out of breath after climbing stairs? This is a funny one.
Who are you trying to hide that
I
fact
don't know. I mean, why do you need to? I mean, oh, so
Yeah.
you want to appear stronger and in better health and fitter than you actually are. That's really funny.
Yeah, are you trying
There's
to
not much
impress
you can do
somebody?
physically. I mean, just you need to stop and rest and catch your breath.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think you need to impress anyone. If you're trying to impress people with your stair climbing skills, then
Listen to your body. Just listen to your body. It's not about anybody else. It's about your body. If it's
exactly.
screaming for oxygen and you can't make it past the first 3 steps, rest, like Lynn says. It's no big deal. Your body is the most important person or relationship that you need to worry about in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody else.
Don't worry, there's no other way to do it. Just sit down, rest, and catch your breath, and it's fine.
Right. Okay. Number 18. How do I get my partner to start exercising with me without offending him? Maybe this is the guy who was asking question number 17.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think so.
What would you say, Lynn?
Well, I don't think your partner should be offended if you ask him to go and exercise with you. I think that's a nice gesture. It's like, hey, honey, let's go running together. Let's go to the gym together. I'd love for you to come to the gym with me. I don't think that's offensive. I don't know why anybody would get offended by that. I would love for my husband to say that to me. That will ever happen. But you know what I mean? I don't think, unless your husband is like really out of shape and overweight, and he's going to take it as a personal offense that you want him to get in shape. But then I would just approach him and say, oh, you know, hon, I love going to the gym. It's so much fun. It would be so cool if we could go together. Not because I want to change you or because I don't love you,
Right.
or overweight or
But
whatever.
yeah, you know, but the husband may already have a history of hearing from his wife, you know, you're too fat. You need to get in shape.
Yeah.
You're going to have a heart attack. You have to eat right. You have to start working out.
Yeah.
You know, if they've already had, you know, endless bouts of conversations about this,
Yeah.
then he probably will be offended, even if it's a friendly invitation.
Yeah,
So,
it's hard.
yeah.
You know what
It's
I
hard.
do with my husband, and I don't, this might work or might not work. I mean, you know, because if I don't push him, he will not exercise, right? So I bring a trainer, and you know, he's always fighting me tooth and nail. He doesn't want the trainer, he doesn't want to work out, leave me alone. But when I bring the trainer back, then what I just say, I don't say, do you want to start with the trainer? I say, would you like to start with the trainer on Tuesday or Wednesday? And then, you know, then he'll just, I don't give him too many options. So then he'll just say, okay, Tuesday. You know, I don't say, yeah, it's not a yes or no, it's a pick a day. So if maybe that will work with your husband as well. You know, would you like to come to the gym with me on Saturdays or Fridays, which would be best for you? But you need to have a husband with Asperger's. That really makes things easier. Okay, number 19. How do I handle it when someone comments on my weight?
Oh, that's tough. I feel sorry for people when that happens.
I've had that happen, and it really hurt me. It happened to me when I was pregnant, and a friend was telling me, oh, you will never lose weight. You'll never be in a bikini again. Oh, you're so big. And, you know, and even after having the baby, and then I was still, you know, I still was carrying some weight, and people making comments, and it was horrible. It hurt me so much. So I would never do it to anyone else. And I don't think anybody needs to comment on anyone's weight. Obviously, if you're overweight, you know, you don't need someone to tell you.
Yeah, and you know, the vast majority of people who are overweight have already been trying things to lose weight. You don't know what kinds of challenges overweight people have gone through.
I know
how much body shame they have about themselves, how it's eroded their self-esteem, and somehow people believe that the overweight don't understand that they're overweight. They somehow don't see that they're overweight, or maybe they don't understand that it's a health issue. It's such a disrespect.
I know. So what would be a good comeback? What can you say to someone that would like comment and say, okay, you're fat? What can you say? Well, how can you?
You know, it depends on the level of the relationship between the two people. Like if it's almost a complete stranger and acquaintance, you can ignore the comment and just move on. Okay. Yeah, that's one way of dealing it. You could say things, turn it back on them and say things like, you know, why is it important that you say this to me? What are you getting out of saying this to me?
Yeah.
If it's somebody who's closer to you and you want to preserve the relationship, but you still want to let them know it's an inappropriate comment, you could say to them, you know, if you want to, I can tell you how much of a struggle it's been for me to lose weight and how much it's really affected the quality of my life. Believe you me, if I could lose the weight, I'd do it.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. Or you could say, you know, I've got hypothyroidism, if you're willing to, you know, reveal. I've got hypothyroidism, and I'm sorry, but it's not that easy when you've got this condition. So maybe you need to be aware if you say comments like this to people that you don't know what they're going through.
Last question, Lucille.
Okay, number 20. What's the best way to tell a friend their natural deodorant isn't working?
Wait, I've got my natural deodorant on. It's kind of like the mint one, right? The mint.
Right, yes. If you have a friend who's got a sensitive nose like Lynn does,
I'm not a good friend.
They're gonna tell you. Yeah, you know what? You could say anything. It depends on how close you are, how much you understand, how they tick. But whenever you're saying things like this, you need to be very tactful and sensitive. And you could say, perhaps you're not aware, but you do emit a body odor. And,
you would say it so bluntly.
Yeah, sometimes you have to say it bluntly. I know you've got great hygiene. I know you're using a natural deodorant. That's wonderful.
It's not working.
It's just not working. And just so you know, you can do with that information what you will, but just so you know.
I still love you. I love your smell, but maybe somebody else might not appreciate it as much as I do.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
All right, guys. Well, that was our rapid fire. It wasn't so rapid. It still took us a while to get through them, but that was fun. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We enjoy bringing these to you. Keep sending us your questions, and my dogs are barking, so there's the signal to finish the episode. Dr. Lucille, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with as many people as you can. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Please be aware that Lynn and I are here to provide insights, advice, stories that are for educational and entertainment purposes only. None of our content should be considered to be personal, medical, or mental health therapy. If you are experiencing a mental health or physical health challenge, please consult the appropriate healthcare specialist. We are here to provide the best possible content in an atmosphere of positive conversation and personal growth.